Hello again, Struck Pop, welcome back to another video of mine. This one would be a build video for Warhammer Chaosbane for the Scout Elessa, and it's version 3.0 of my old Executing Blades build. I played with it yesterday, last night, and I was surprised to figure out that the build can now even solo difficulties as high as Chaos 10. Of course, solo Chaos 10 is not recommended. It's doable, it's not that slow to do it, but in general you're only gonna want to scale solo Chaos 10 if you really need XP, and even then I'm not sure whether doing 3 Chaos 8 maps won't be better for the time of doing 1 Chaos 10 map. For example, if you can do 1 Chaos 10 map in 6 minutes and you can do a Chaos 8 map in 2 minutes, obviously it's better to just do the Chaos 8 maps, because you're gonna get roughly the same XP. You get 960% XP on Chaos 8 and 1500 something XP, actually 2500 XP percent on Chaos 10. So I'm gonna just leave it to you to decide whether you think it's worth it to do Chaos 10 solo or just in co-op. If you do it in co-op, Chaos 10 is amazing. Chaos 9 is also not bad, you can do Chaos 9, but my suggested difficulty for farming green items is Chaos 8. For farming XP, Chaos 10 in group, or Chaos 9 maybe solo. The build has a lot of flexibility, and as you're gonna see in the skills segment where I'm gonna talk in detail about some of the things I tested, and throughout the footage you're gonna see me testing, demonstrating all sorts of different minor tweaks, taking this skill, taking this passive, and so on. In general, there's a lot of options, a lot of possibilities, and Elessa has been transformed with the simple but effective buff by increasing her cooldown reduction, or maybe let's say it like this: by decreasing Elessa's cooldowns, the devs have substantially made her more powerful and more viable for the harder content. Some other things, so buffs in general, but let's talk about those in the skills segment. The skills for this build are very flexible in regards to how you want to play it. First of all, you want to go Chaos 10. If you go Chaos 10, you take more survivability. If you want to farm items, not XP, then you go to Chaos 8, because it's better to farm items on Chaos 8. Or you can kind of go for a middle ground, farming XP and items, but not as much XP as Chaos 10 and not as quick item-wise as Chaos 8, because you're gonna take longer on Chaos 9. But regarding that, I've come up with a few setups, and you should be seeing those on your screen. In the meantime, I'm gonna quickly go and walk you through some of those setups. The setup I like using the most looks like this. And I would call this the static face tanking with brambles setup. It's not as tanky as using Spiral Cut Superior, but the Bramble Superior is my preferred energy cost skill of choice. Crippling Blade is there just as an energy generator. Most of the time you wouldn't need to generate energy if you set up the build properly, but in case you do, that's it. You can use any basic attack skill you like. Master Archer, Sureflight, it doesn't matter honestly. Spinning Blades Heroic, bread and butter of the build with enough cooldown reduction. This is amazing, and speaking of enough cooldown reduction, my build currently has 72.8 cooldown reduction and the limit is 80, so I'm pretty close to the cap. And then Hungry Root Superior is there because first it's a poison trap, so it does a ton of damage because it's poison and we're stacking bonuses to poison. Second of all, we get damage reduction 10% after using it, which is pretty nice. Then Winds of Fish gives us health again, does damage, does a lot of damage, and lasts for 12 seconds. It's very good on big targets like the big bosses like the Mute Elite or the Jabber's White. In general, it's pretty good skill and I really love it, especially the mastered version. Then Bar Bramble Superior. This can be anything. It can be Bar Bramble Superior, Elven Shot Superior, Spiral Cut Superior, It could also be Living Root superior. The one thing I wouldn't suggest is Thorny Arrows. Don't do Thorny Arrows. I tested it and I switched it 2 minutes after starting the map. I didn't even finish the map when I was testing Thorny Arrows superior. It was just super underwhelming. Probably the Mustard would be nice on a physical build, but the Poison Thorny Arrows is super underwhelming. There's another way to rework the build. Let's talk about the reworks later. So Queen's Wrath is here for poison damage and mostly for the health regeneration field. It's a big field. You can see the radius of this field is pretty solid. So while you're inside that field, you and your allies are getting health regeneration. So you or your allies need to be in the field to get that HP Regen. And HP Regen translates into damage for this build due to Executors. Due to Executors, every 1%, 1.0 health regeneration equals 16% damage from Executors. 0.4 equals 8, or maybe just a moment, I have it written here. So 0.4 point equals 8, and 1% is probably 20. Most likely it's around 20. So yeah, 1% is 20, if you have 2% obviously 40, if you have 20% health regeneration, obviously that's gonna be a nice number of damage, and I can get this up to over 400 damage when I stack all my sources of health regeneration, even close to 600 sometimes. If I'm stacking health regeneration from other people. But this is all about So let's not go off topic too much. So Queen's Wrath for the poison damage, for the health regeneration, good field. Now we're moving on to the passive skills. Tactical Retreat superior. Nice movement speed bonus and damage reduction after dodge rolling, and we're mostly moving around the map by dodge rolling, and on bosses we are dodging some stuff, so it's nice. I love it. If you don't need the poison trail, which I like using because the poison trail procs things like the Master Archer bow, Ring of Spirits or Ring of the Guardian, which would be my preferred ring here for the build, but again I don't have a good road Ring of the Guardian, and it also procs things like Amber Talisman to let us spam Spinning Blade more often. So I like using the Poison Trail. If you don't like it, you can downgrade it. Master of Poisons has been buffed up, so each of those ranks give it 30% instead of 20% damage, and this one gives you 5 seconds duration of the poison. The duration is good at first glance, but honestly you're repoisoning the enemies all the time, so it doesn't really matter whether you get the duration or not, whether you get just the basic one. And the slowdown chance, it's okay, but it's not something we really need, not for this build. And this brings us to Blessings of the Forest. Passive permanent all the time health regeneration, meaning passive permanent all the time damage from Executors. Amazing thing for the build. And that brings us to Hunting Feast. Not all the time, but another source of passive HP Regen for a few seconds, but you have to stand still. And this is why I said I came up with some different variations, because some variations would be for a more mobile setup where we're ditching Hunting Feast, because with Hunting Feast first we need to kill a poisoned enemy, and then it has a chance, which is 20, 25 or 30% chance to create a field on the ground. That gives you HP Regen while standing. So if you're doing a static build where you're spending most of the time standing in place spamming, and that for Chaos 8 works well. For Chaos 10 I wouldn't suggest going for a build that uses that too much, but yeah, you want that on a build that's static. If you're going for a non-static build, then get follow tracks. That's 30% damage while you're moving after dodging for 3 seconds. This even can give you 1 energy, but it's only 20%. So I would suggest using this, and that opens up 3 more points to spend elsewhere. Then we have Duelist Chain Reaction, pretty decent. I love it as a skill. And here we have Guardian Spirit Master. Not everyone would love it, but it's got a pretty decent area. You can see, I'm gonna try and show you. You probably see it here, this green area there, but I want to show you somewhere where it's easier to see that area. but it's taking a while for my spirit to okay, there we go. See, this is it. This is the range of Guardian Spirit. It's not too big, but it's not too little. And it gives you damage reduction and decent HP Regen. And if you stack that HP Regen with this one, you can get some nice damage. Just from Guardian Spirit and Queen's Wrath, 305 damage from... Actually, Guardian Spirit expired. So let's see it now. Guardian Spirit and Queen's Wrath, 305. Yeah, 305 is what we get just from those two skills, excluding some of the other things that can proc, such as Hunting Feast. And now that brings us to the experimental part. How do we rework the skills if we want something else? Obviously, you would want more survivability for Chaos 10. That means you get padded armor. And instead of Barb Bramble Superior, you want more survivability, which means Spiral Cut. And that's one of the setups for Chaos. That's actually the setup for Chaos 10. I'm just checking if everything's... yeah, that's actually how I had it set up. This even leaves you with 8 points to maybe upgrade Crippling Blade to something like this one with the poison. So you get extra damage, or this one with the poison, or even this one with the poison. Use those 8 points if you want to elsewhere upgrade something. So this is the Chaos 10 setup, and if you wanna go for non-static setup, we can do something like this maybe, and then do this because we don't have points for the one. See, if you take a skill like Reflex Shot Master that takes 15, you downgrade this. If you take something that's with 10 points, such as Barb Bramble Superior, or Elven Shot Superior, or Spiral Cut Superior, or Living Root Superior, then you can leave that at 15. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the skills. Let's quickly mention something about the legend ranks. This is what I was using: 30%, 30%, 30%, 20%, 25% chance in reinforcement, endurance, crushing, healing, punishment. Maxed out power on everything except the punishment. I mean, ideally you would max out punishment as well, or you can try and take no healing. You can try and just remove the healing if you're not gonna be relying too much on spamming your skills. It won't heal too much on. It heals you 10% of your HP. So I've noticed that it's not really 10% because whenever I heal on 300,000, it's only 6 point something thousand. So it's more like 5%. Maybe it's a bug. Maybe I just have something that's reducing my healing from the map I was doing. In any case, if you don't want legendary healing, just to get more chance for reinforcement, endurance, crushing, and punishment. And just ignore the healing. But since I always put one energy cost skill here, I think healing works well, especially knowing that we're on an Elessa and we have health regeneration. Now let's move on to the God Skills segment. And here we are at the God Skills segment, where you're gonna see I'm using 35 cooldown reduction from my God Skills. Key things to mention is we are stopping here at this 5% cooldown reduction, grabbing this bonus damage to champions and this crit damage on the way. Then we're forking out here to that 5% cooldown reduction, grabbing damage on the way. And we've got some more cooldown reduction here. We've got crit damage here, and we've got more crit damage here. And then we're going all the way here to Blessing of the Forest Superior. Some of you might be tempted to go here for extra health again, or here, where was it? Actually they moved it, this one, for this 1% health again. And some of you might be tempted even to go all the way here for this 2% and this 1%, but I think cooldown is more important than the damage. If you have enough cooldown, you're gonna have enough damage and enough survivability, because you're gonna have more often the healing and you can stack a lot of blades with enough cooldown for the build. So sacrificing some health regeneration, which translates into sacrificing damage, is worth it. In my opinion, there's not much cooldown on the way here. In fact, there's just that 1% health regen, and the rest is just HP, but the HP is actually pretty worth it, and the armor. And then on this side of things, we are stopping all the way to Hunting Feast Mastered. If you're not using Hunting Feast Mastered in your setup, you can remove 1 point, but stop here for this cooldown reduction. And that extra point, you can probably get some HP or damage. It's up to you. I don't think you can get anything other than HP or damage. Maybe this champion damage reduction would be worth that 1 extra point if you don't use Hunting Feast Mastered. So by taking this cooldown on the way, we're taking another 1, then 2, 3. So this one gives us 4 cooldown reduction nodes. This one gives us 1, 2, 3 cooldown reduction nodes. And I think it's a pretty decent setup. You might want to rework it in a different way, where you're not using those 15% cooldown reduction, and you're getting cooldown reduction from other places. I can't remember where there was some, but I'm pretty sure there was some cooldown reduction somewhere in that side of things. I can't remember exactly where, but there are places where you can get more cooldown reduction on this side of the skill tree, but you won't get as much. You won't get as much as the way I've done it. So that's pretty much it for the god skills. I wouldn't suggest changing too many things. When I have some time, I will experiment more. I will figure out some more things with Elessa and see what I can do to rework some of the old builds now that they've been so generous to give her cooldown reduction across the board for all her skills. And I think they've given her some silent buffs. I've noticed some things doing much more damage than I remember them doing before. One example might be Hungry Roots and things like Elven Shot and things like Reflex Shot. So this one also makes the enemies do less damage, which is pretty nice, especially for Chaos 10. You might want to consider using this instead of Spiral Cut sometimes. In general, that's pretty much it for the god skills. Let's move on to showing you some more information about the gear. And here we are at the gear segment, where I'm gonna quickly walk you through all the items I'm using for the build and why. First of all, the set we're using is the Eternal Queen set, and I'm gonna start with the helmet. Must have stat, priority number 1, a good amount of cooldown reduction. Priority number 2 would be HP, and health regen. By health regen I mean this one, up to 0.5 health regeneration can roll on armors. I'm not sure if it rolls on every single piece of armor, but it rolls on the tunic and it rolls on the tassets. So chest and leg armor can give you health regen, and I'm pretty sure it can also roll on gauntlets if I'm not mistaken. But I do think boots and helmet probably don't roll with health regen. Maybe they do, maybe I've forgotten, maybe I've gotten one recently and I just don't remember. It's been a while since I spent a lot of time on Elessa, so I can't confirm, but actually, yeah, I think it's just the leg and chest armor. So for the helmet, priority number 1, as I said, cooldown reduction. Priority number 2, health. Priority number 3 is armor. The rest is fewers. Obviously things like cost reduction, resistance to damage over time are not bad. On the armor, priority number 1 probably would be health regeneration if you can get it, alongside HP and armor, and the rest being fewers. The leg, exactly the same thing applies. Priority number 1, HP Regen and HP, and then armor, and then the rest is fewers. On the boots, speed bonus is nice, but most of the time you would be moving with dodges rather than your regular movement. So I would say priority number 1 HP, number 2 armor. If there's health regeneration, then put it on equal priority as the HP. The rest is fillers. And for the gauntlets, it's the only armor that can give you offensive stats, such as damage, crit damage, damage over time, things like this. So you want priority number 1 damage, priority number 2 HP, priority number 3 would be equally important armor, crit damage, damage over time, things like that, and then the rest is fillers. For the amulet and rings, the exact same rules apply, except the amulet can roll armor, but armor is probably not meta stat on a talisman. So I would stay away from armor, even though it's the only accessory and the only trinket that can give you. So for both rings and for the amulet, the stat you want would be cooldown reduction and crit chance, priority number 1, those two things. Crit chance, cooldown reduction, priority number 1. Damage and HP, priority number 2. Damage over time is probably priority number 3. And if you get all 5 of those I mentioned, that's 5 stats. I would say sacrifice the damage over time, get health drain. So ideally you would want crit chance, cooldown, damage, HP, health drain. The same goes for the rings. Actually, I forgot about health regeneration. Health regeneration is amazing as well. So once you get crit chance and damage and cooldown reduction and HP, if you don't have health drain, HP Regen is a good choice as well. But keep in mind the HP Regen would probably be 0.4, 0.5. And as I mentioned, 0.4 equals 8% damage increase from Executors. It's not gonna be as worth it as health drain, which would really help you survive on the higher difficulties. So the same goes for the rings. Cooldown reduction, crit chance, highest priority, and then HP and health drain and damage. And you want Ring of Resonance. If you can get Ring of Resonance, get it. There's something I want to let you know about Ring of Resonance. First of all, you get Ring of Resonance from here, from the invasions, over here. And once you finish this node, basically my suggestion is go, if you're a new player, go to rank 10. You won't be able to do higher than rank 10. So go to rank 10. And then clear it, clear this one, get corruption resistance, clear this one, get corruption resistance, clear this one, get duelist chain reaction, then clear this one, get corruption resistance, get this corruption resistance, and if you want, even get those nodes here for the extra buffs, debuffs for you and the enemies. Then start pushing down, maybe get those nodes. If you're having a hard time, even get those nodes here, but once you finish this node, do not collect the ring. If you collect this ring while this is rank 10, you lose 9 rings. The rings for rank 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9 you're gonna lose. What you do is you finish this map on rank 10, then you go back to rank 1, and then you collect the ring on rank 1. Anything you complete on rank 10 will be completed on rank 1 as well, including rewards. So once you complete this map and every other map on the way, on rank 10 it will complete those maps on ranks 1 through 9. So you complete that map, you go to rank 1 from 10, and then you collect the ring, and then you change to rank 2, and then you collect the ring, and then you change to rank 3 and you collect the ring, and you do this until you've collected all 10 rings. And that gives you a higher chance of getting Rings of Resonance. If you wanna exploit it, you can just copy paste your save file. I haven't done it, but I've talked to people on my stream that it's doable. You can copy paste your save files right before collecting the rings. Collect the rings, and if you don't like the rolls, overwrite your old saves with the overwrite your current save with the old one, and try again. I'm not gonna do something like that because, I mean, yeah, it kind of beats the purpose, but in general we just need the developers to add a system to reroll affixes. So back on the rings, Outrink of Resonance is nice because you're using skills with cooldown a lot. This one counts as a skill with cooldown. We don't use it for the damage, you use it for stun, and this stun can interrupt healing of the trolls or of the demon princess. In general, this interrupts stuff, and you can even stun bosses, which is amazing. Not the big bosses of the acts, but maybe you can even stun those. And then over here you would want ideally a Ring of the Guardian with the roles I mentioned. I don't have a good road Ring of the Guardian, so I was using Ring of the Spirits. In fact, for a long time I was using this Ring of Shadow. Actually, I think it was this one. For a long time I was using this Ring of Shadow because it's very good road. The only thing I would have changed is probably HP instead of counter-attack damage. And maybe instead of the health regen I could have gotten health drain. Actually, instead of the crit damage I could have gotten health drain, and it would have been nice. But yeah, you want Ring of the Guardian, and you're stacking Ring of the Guardian with the Master Archer bow, and you're stacking that with the Amber Talisman, and you're getting a ton of cooldown. If you don't think you need Ring of the Guardian, then Ring of the Spirits is a good choice. There's other choices you can try and do, such as Ring of Vitality. Even the Untamed Ring, if you want more damage, is not a bad choice. I would stay away from Amber Bark Ring, because you're gonna be running out of energy all the time with this one, and then you're gonna have to use Crippling Blade, and that's just a different build overall. So Iron Bark is another ring you might wanna experiment with, but with Iron Bark you need to be picking up Bloodlust Orbs. So yeah, it's not everyone's favorite ring, and for a good reason. Now that we've gone through the rings, I suggest strongly taking Amber Talisman. Don't take other talismans. A good alternative choice would be heals when using a God skill, the Cleansing Talisman, because you have 2 God skills. That's 20 HP when you use it. But this one is just such a good synergy for this build that I just don't suggest getting another one. Then we move on to the bow. As I mentioned, Master Archer bow. Critting has a chance to reduce your current cooldowns. The roles you want here would be cooldown reduction, very high, good cooldown reduction. You would want damage. Those are your top 2 priorities, damage and cooldown reduction. You cannot get crit chance, so that's what's your highest priority. Then priority number 3 probably would be HP. And then you would want crit damage, because this one has a very high, over 80% crit damage that you can get on it. And then things like health drain are amazing. Things like armor piercing are good. I would probably change the damage over time and the counterattack for health drain and for armor piercing most likely. They're not bad stats. Here you want crit chance. Priority number 1 are crit chance and cooldown. Priority number 2 would be damage and HP. Obviously you want all 4 if you're lucky. And then you might want to get some health drain, and that brings you to 5 stats out of 6, so maybe get some armor piercing too, or crit damage, something like that. And this pretty much sums up the items. Let's quickly talk about the blessings. Try to keep your HP over 330,000. So in some cases you would see, like on this ring, I've used the HP blessing, which is this one with the God token, no links. This means up to 20,000 HP. Up to 20,000 HP is what you can get, but this is only on a few items you're probably gonna need it. But try to keep your HP over 300k. In the meantime, you can do something like this. This gives you a balanced amount of HP and damage. Actually, this gives you the most amount of HP with damage. 8000 HP, 3.6k damage. If you want a little bit more balanced option, then you do this 3 and 3, green and red, with the links. This is 6000 HP, so you're losing 2000 HP, but you're winning 420 more damage. And if you want another 420 more damage, and I think 420 is not a coincidence as a number here, for another 420 damage, but for losing another 2k HP, you do this. I would suggest go for more greens, and as you get green items, green armors, weapons, rings, etc., then eventually maybe start to transition from the ones with 6,000 HP to the ones with 4,000 HP. You can see here I'm using 4,000 HP, here I'm using 8, here I'm using 4, here I'm using 6, here I'm using 8, here I'm using 8, 8 here and 8 here. So most of mine are still with 8 because Elessa is a bit squishy, and sacrificing some damage would pay off as long as you can keep yourself alive. So that's it for the blessings and in general for the gear segment. Next we can show you more gameplay footage of the build and talk about how to play it. Here we are at the gameplay segment where I show you a little bit more gameplay footage of the build in action, and I talk about how I played, how I rotate my skills, such as combos that you might wanna consider and so on. Keep in mind, since it's a flexible build, and you might want to equip certain other things instead of barb brambles or instead of spiral cut, you would play it differently, and it also means you would play it differently depending whether you're going for a more static face tanking in one place build, or whether you're getting bonuses when you're moving and you want to be doing the mobile version, as well as a different approach would be needed when going for Chaos 10 opposed to when going for Chaos 8 farming. In all cases you wanna move a bit so you can get that poison trail behind you, so it can start hitting the enemy, so it can start proccing things that reduce your cooldown, and you wanna be spamming the spinning blade as much as possible. Spinning blade is super important. This is, by the way, a Chaos 10 boss that you're seeing on your screen. And spinning blade is your bread and butter, so the more you proc it, the more you use it, the better. In the meantime, you're using the god skills, you're using spiral cut, you're using the poison trap for extra damage reduction from those two things and from the healing, and that's kind of it. To get notified when I upload more content for this game or other games like this one, which would be wooters of all varieties, isometric, third-person ARPGs, wooter shooters and all sorts of wooters like that, you could subscribe to my channel and hit that bell button to not miss out on my content updates. And optionally, you can even join as a member of the Struck Club on YouTube as a channel member to get access to exclusive perks such as special emotes custom made by me, special badges custom made by me that represents how many months you have been a member for, as well as opt-in of editing tutorials that I can give for Photoshop, Adobe Premiere, as well as shoutouts and things like that. And I would like to use this part of the video to thank all my YouTube members and Twitch subscribers. Thank you for supporting the channel and keeping me going. Thank you also for watching this video, everyone. Keep it cool, Struck Club. Until next time, and goodbye.